Hey everyone, today I'm going to be showing you how to do a single crochet stitch, and we're going to be learning how to make this little piece of crochet. So if you want to learn how to make this, go ahead and stay tuned. So to start, what you're going to need is some number 4 worsted yarn. You can get this at pretty much any craft store. If you're not really for sure if this is something you want to continue with, you can also get some at Dollar Tree. I believe that it's just $1.50 for it. The yarn's pretty decent, not too bad. So just wherever your craft store is, make sure it's number 4 worsted yarn. Another thing that I would look out for is to make sure that it's lighter in color. Just because when you're crocheting for the first time, it can be really hard to keep track of how many stitches you have or to see where you need to insert your hook into. And the lighter the color, generally the easier it's going to be to see. So just make sure it can be any color. It can be light green, light blue. Just make sure it's a lighter color. The second thing you're going to need is you're going to need your crochet hook. So the crochet hook I'm using is a 5mm. I wouldn't go below a 5mm, just simply because the lower you go, the harder it is. And at some point you're even gonna go too low on a crochet hook and it's not really gonna work for this yarn. So I would stick with a 5mm. If you wanna do a 6mm, you can also do that too. If you want to do your foundation chain in a 6mm and then switch to a 5mm for your single crochets, that's also totally fine too. And the last thing you'll need is a pair of yarn scissors. Just make sure that whatever brand you use, that it is meant for yarn, or else it can snag your work and it can even, end up causing your yarn to unravel. So now that we have all of those, let's start with making our slip knot. And to make a slip knot, what I usually do is I'll take the yarn in my hand and I'll make sure that the tail is behind my hand. So just take it, and I like to hold right here with my thumb. And what you're going to do is you're going to wrap that tail around your 2 fingers and hold on to it like that with your thumb. I like to make it a little bit looser because I don't want it to be too tight around my fingers, as you'll see in the next step. So again, just take your yarn, put the tail behind your fingers, and wrap the tail around your 2 fingers, holding onto it with your thumb. So the next step that we're going to do is you're going to turn your fingers over and you're going to hold on to that loop. And you're just going to pull it through. So all you're doing is you're just taking your fingers out. Make sure your thumb does not come loose. This is what's holding the 2 pieces together. So do that one more time. My thumb on the 2 pieces, turn it over, and take the loop to pull through my fingers. So as long as your thumb is still on this piece, then you're good to go. The final step is we're going to take our thumb and our index finger and we're going to stick them through the loop. And we're going to grab the tail right here. So just stick your fingers through and grab that tail right there. And now what you'll have is this kind of like weird looking loop. You're going to pull both sides just like that. And there you have a slip knot. Let me show you one more time how to do that. So yarn tail behind the fingers, wrap around, hold on to it, turn it over and grab the loop, pull through my fingers, take my thumb and my index finger, put them through the loop and grab the tail and pull. And that's our slip knot. Now that we have our slip knot, go ahead and put it on your hook. Now, as you can see, our slip knot's really big. We don't want it to be this big. So you'll take this tiny little tail right here and you'll just pull it. Make sure it's not on there too tight. You want it to be able to slide across the hook pretty easily. You don't want it to kind of stutter. If it stutters a little bit, that means it's too tight. So if you find that your knot is too tight on the hook, pull on this one right here and it'll loosen it up a little bit. And then pull on that small tail to tighten it. So if you want to loosen it, pull on the longer end. If you want to tighten it, pull on the shorter end. With the slip knot on our hook, we're going to wrap the yarn around our hand. And the reason why we do this is, one, to keep the tension of it at a good spot. We don't want it too loose, but we also don't want it too tight. Wrapping around your hand kind of keeps it in the right place. But it also helps to keep our yarn from going all over the place. What you're going to do is you're going to take that long piece of yarn and you're going to wrap it around your pinky. Just like that. So, just wrap it around. And then we're going to go behind all of our fingers and put it to the front of our index finger like this. So again, wrap it around, go behind your fingers and through the front of your index finger. And that is how you get the tension. So now that we have the tension, we can go ahead and start our foundation chain. And a foundation chain is exactly as it says. It's the foundation for any kind of crochet work. You always start with a foundation chain. And the foundation chain is usually super easy to make. All you're doing is just making chains of stitches. So to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to hold on to this slip knot right here. I like to hold on to it with my middle finger and my thumb. You can hold on to it with your ring finger and your thumb if you want to, however is easiest for you. I like to hold it like this. So once you have that done, we're going to take our hook and we're going to yarn over. To yarn over, what you're going to do is you're going to put your hook behind your yarn. So let me show you that one more time. And put the hook behind the yarn. You can also do where you take the yarn and put it in front like this. If that's easier for you to do, go ahead and do that. Either way, it's the same thing. We yarn over. Once we yarn over, we're going to twist our hook until it's down like this. And the reason why we're doing that is so that way this part right here, if you can see the little notch part right there, we want this part to catch this piece of yarn right here, so that way we can pull it through this loop that's on our hook. So yarn over, twist downward, and then pull through the loop, just like so. And now you have chained your first chain. So let's do that again. Holding on to the slip knot with my two fingers, I'm going to yarn over, I'm going to twist downward, and then I'm going to pull through that loop. So one more time, holding on to the slip knot, yarn over, twist downward, and pull. And that gives us 3 separate chains. And if you're wondering how to tell how many chains you have, the easiest way is by looking at the V's. So right here, we have 1V, 2V, and 3V. It's a little bit hard to see, but basically this one right here is your first chain, this is your second chain, and this is your third chain. You don't ever count this loop right here that's on your hook as a chain. It's going to be this one right here, right next to your hook. That's the start of the chain. So we've done 3. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to chain 20. Now with single crochet, the rule of thumb is that you're going to do the amount of chains that you need plus 1. So say you're working on a pattern and the pattern calls for 50 chains. What you're going to do is you're going to chain 50 of these, and then once you get to the 50, you're going to chain an additional. So you'll end up having 51 chains total in your foundation. And I'll show you why we do that here in a second, once we get done. So I'm not going to do 50, I'm going to do 20. So we've already done 3. So I'm going to go ahead and do some more, and I will meet up with you once I'm done with my 20. Okay, so I've just chained 20. So again, we're going to do the amount of chains plus 1. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to chain that 21st one right there. Now, like I said, you don't count this loop right here as a chain. Instead, it's going to be this one right here. And now that we have 20 of them, you can kind of see a little bit better these V's right here that make the chains. That will probably be a little bit harder to do right at the beginning, is count how many chains you have. I highly recommend getting a stitch counter. You can get them at any craft store as well. They helped me a lot whenever I was first learning how to do chains. It helps keep track of it for you, and that way you don't lose count of how many, especially since, like I said, right at the beginning, these can be a little bit harder, a little bit trickier to see. So going on, now that we have our 21 on here, the reason why we do 21 is because we're going to skip this first one from the hook. So we're not going to go into this chain right here, we're going to skip it. We're instead going to go into this chain right here. So once we get to the end, we're only going to end up having 20 single crochets instead of 21 single crochets because we skip this first one. Now, to do this, to start our single crochet, what you're going to do is hold on to this yarn, this loop that's on your hook with your index finger. And it's okay if it kind of slides around. You're just trying to hold it onto the hook. You don't want it to come off the hook, but don't put too much pressure on it that it can't like move around kind of thing. So we're going to hold on to this yarn and we're going to go into that second chain. Now that we're into that second chain, we're going to yarn over. So yarn over, you're going to twist downward, and we're going to pull through only this chain right here, the one that we just put our hook into. And now we have 2 loops on our hook. Now that we have these 2 loops, we're going to yarn over again, twist downward, and pull through. And that right there is our first single crochet. You can kind of tell which stitch or chain we went through because this hole right here is going to be much bigger. So if you compare like the next one to this one, you can see that this one is much bigger than this one. So let's do that again. We're going to hold on to this, and we're not going to go into this one. This is the one we just went into. We're going to go into this one right here. All right, we have this stitch on the hook, so we're going to yarn over, twist downward, and pull through only that chain that was on the hook. And now we have 2 loops. So we're going to yarn over again, twist downward, and pull through both loops. And that is our second single crochet. I know at first that part might seem a little confusing, so just take each one slow and go through them just at the speed that you need to. Don't feel like you have to go too fast. Once you start crocheting often, you're going to get the hang of it. It's going to be a lot easier. So let's go ahead and do another one. Again, this is the one we just went into. You can tell because it's bigger. We're going to go into this one. So I'm going to take the hook, go into this chain right here. You're going to yarn over, twist downward, and go through that chain only. We now have 2 loops on the hook. So we're going to yarn over again, twist downward, and pull through both of those loops. One more time. Go through the chain, yarn over, downward and pull. We now have both loops. Yarn over again, twist downward, and pull through both. Let's do one more. Go through the chain, yarn over, twist downward, pull through that chain only. Now that we have 2 loops, gonna yarn over again, twist downward, and pull through both loops. And you're just going to continue that until you get all the way to the end right here in that last one. So we're going to single crochet into every single one of these. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to keep single crocheting into each one, and I will meet up with you here in a second. Now we've come to our last chain right here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to single crochet into that one. And we are done with our very first row. So to begin the next row, what we're going to do is we're going to chain 1 and then turn. So basically, whenever you get to the end of your rows, you're only going to need to chain 1 and then turn your work to begin that next row. So to chain 1, and if you don't remember, yarn over, twist downward, pull through, and that creates our 1 chain. And then just flip, like so. Okay, now that we're starting row 2, this part's going to look a little bit different than row 1, because now, instead of just having the 1 stitch on there, you're going to have both of these stitches right here on the hook. So what that's going to look like is you're going to go underneath here into this spot. If you go through the top right here and you just grab one of them, that's called going through the back loop only. We don't want to just go through the back loop. We want to make sure that we get both of these loops right here on our hook like this. So basically, whenever you first put that stitch on, you're going to have 3 loops on there. That's what it's going to look like. And how we go and do that, how we get both of those loops on there, is by going through this area right here. It can be a little bit hard to see, so if you need help, kind of pull apart your stitches like that, kind of get a little bit better of a view. But basically, like I said, if you turn it to the side, you're going to see these 2 stitches right here. We want both of those stitches on our hook. So go through this area right here, yarn over, twist, pull through those stitches only to get your 2 loops. And now that we have only 2 loops, we can continue with the single crochet. So don't be confused by it. You're still doing the same exact thing. You're still going through that stitch, yarning over and pulling through that stitch only to get to these 2 loops. And then you yarn over and pull through those 2 loops again. So let's do another one. Go through right here. We have both the top and back loops on here. Yarn over and go through that stitch only, 2 loops, yarn over again and pull through those 2 loops. And you're going to continue to do this all the way through. Just like so. And that is how you single crochet.